lambda linguistic approximation. I stop here. 20 years I was unable to move from that point. For me, it's a difficult problem. Of course, there are cases in which the family resemblance is to be reconsidered. For example, I exclude Greek sets, but, for example, I can take this fuzzy set, sigma, and I can take this Greek set, the Greek set of this interval 4, 6, is not here. And I can compute Chinikov, and I have a degree of family resemblance. With my degree, which I am not absolutely convinced, I have 0.76. It's not 0.8. It's not at a low level family resemblance between these. Of course, if you move this side more to the right, and this to the left, this value will increase. There are other cases in which the existence of prototypes is not clear. An example is given by beautiful in a set of objects. Sometimes it's difficult to say this object is a prototype of the predicate beautiful. Very difficult. But in these cases, to consider family resemblance, I think that it will be interesting. Let me add something else to this restriction. Of course, I told you that usually we use some numerical characteristics like height or stone, but there are some complicated cases in which anyway it is possible to translate the question to an interval. For example, in this way, identify each object with an n-tuple of significative parts of x. And I consider that x is the set of n significative parts of x. And that each part has a numerical characteristic in an interval. Then I can aggregate and give a numerical characteristic to x by the aggregation, some way, of all partial, all the characteristics of each one of these parts. Of course. For example, imagine that they are beautiful and that x is a set of paintings. And imagine that I am able to divide, to part each painting in n parts, triangles, a partition. And that I can interpret x is beautiful as x1 is beautiful, as this n-tuple of linguistic. Then I can obtain the degree of beautiful of x by aggregating the parts, the characteristic of each one. Of course, I am using here an aggregation function that is not the only way of it. For example, in the case in which the n-tuple is just an n, x is p, if and only if x is p1, and is p, the characteristic I can take a as a not as an n. And of course, it would be much more difficult. I remember that Professor Subeno, a lot of years ago, did a study on the beautifulness of female faces. And the way of integration was with a Subeno integral. The way of integrating integration was using Subeno integrals. Then, this point of studying which kind of aggregations can be used at each case, because for me it's almost sure that the aggregation, the function of aggregation depends on the case. On the case. For example, in this kind of partition of the objects, I remember that you partition the face with that, the eyes. It depends on the partition. It depends on the evaluation of each part of the partition. Then I suppose that is not possible to have a general theory in the sense that you should always use the degree as Trias, Moraga, and Sorrino placed it in a paper. It should be. The subject deserves much more stuff. let me conclude in this way. Because of reconstruction, this family of mu, is a set. Maybe it's not difficult to change the set by a fuzzy set. For example, taking the degrees in which all relative in the family is similar to mu. Then, in the same way I consider this as a set, I can consider it as a fuzzy set. It's not really difficult. Which is the problem for me? The problem for me is that in language, these families cannot be static, closed, to be dynamic. And in this lecture, there is no way to transform family mu in something dynamic. Then, I think that in natural language, this relation is not permanent, but is an evolving relation. In language, this should be evolved. What does it mean? Does mean that we need to make experiments with some families to look how they evolve. Why? Because look, sometimes it's possible that an element that is not in this family, but maybe it has a not too low degree of family resemblance, can compute. And at the end it could be computed. That generates a new family. Indeed, it changes the relation. Then, in natural language, what we need is not to consider in the way I presented it, but to consider as a process. It's something that is process, in which time should appear. Context, environment, use, and time. Maybe time could be a large period of time, but it should appear. It's, in my view, with families of ressemblance taken either as crisp or fuzzy, I think that human thought, for me, is not possible. I need some that evolves with time. I need something that with time is changes from family, the family results larger, other family results shorter. Then how to study that? For me, it's typical of an experimental subject. We need to do experiments with that, to have some intuitions on how to proceed. Then, because of that, I end in the same way I start. And this is not conclusive. This is just some approach on a subject that in my view is potentially interesting for completing with words. Because completing with words should enter language. And language is not static. Then, if we try to approach language with some previously quite concepts like this type of family ressemblance, maybe there are a lot of different interesting concepts, we cannot consider this as something static. It should be a process on time. And maybe not only on time. Maybe there are other variables that I don't know now, but that maybe there are other variables that should be taken into account. Thank you. Questions?
The first question is, what is the difference between similarity between fuzzy sets and family resemblance between fuzzy sets? Because to me, it looks that the way it is defined is the same. But similarities or indistinguishabilities degrees between fuzzy sets. You are telling how similar they are the fuzzy sets. So you are doing kind of indistinguishability degree or similarity degree. And what is that difference to family resemblance?
I don't capture your question.
I mean, the way